Hey everyone, MTashed here, and I made a video about doing more damage in the game, and I talked about raising your attack stat. Now, I got a lot of comments saying, yeah, but wait a second. D-Luke did 115,000 damage in one hit. And so I found the video, and I looked at it, and it's not because of Elemental Mastery. Everyone thinks it's because of Elemental Mastery, and that has a small part in it, but there are multiple things going on in this video. I want to explain how to hit 100,000 damage in one hit. It's a bit convoluted because there's multiple moving parts here, and there's multiple ways to do this, but I want to explain the main reasons why and what is coming into play here. So if you watch the video, it shows off D-Luke and all of his stats. He's got 2,700 attack, but if you notice there's a quick little flash over to baby D-Luke, Bennett, right? There's a quick swap over to Bennett there. Now the reason why is because it's going to be showing off Bennett's attack damage. He has a 1,500 damage attack value. Now the reason why is because Bennett is going to be buffing D-Luke based on this attack damage, which we're going to talk about later. But we show off all of D-Luke's stats, and he's got 127 Elemental Mastery, which isn't that high. My D-Luke has 105. I'm going to show you after. Shows off all of this stuff, but then he walks in, and he's going to one-bang this enemy. So I'm going to just skip ahead here to show you that he like pretty much one-bangs this enemy. He does 115,000 damage right here. He's going to pop it, and skadoosh! Look at that damage number. Absolute insanity. Okay, look at that. He's winding up. He's ready to go. He's going to hit, and 115,000 damage. This one says 13,000, but this is a huge amount of damage in one hit, okay? I get that. But let me explain why this is happening, and then we're going to talk about Elemental Mastery. It is very, very important, but it's not as important as people say, okay? It's not like this thing where you should be stacking 900 of it. Well, I mean, you can't even, but you know what I'm saying? Let's get into it. So a couple things we need to look at. My D-Luke, much lower level, but he's got an Elemental Mastery of 103. So I'm getting a 19% boost to Vaporize and Melt. I'm getting 19% more damage from doing those activities, which is what happens. He actually melts the cryo enemy. He's going to be doing, 25, 30% more damage because he's got more Elemental Mastery. Now, the first person that goes on the field is Bennett. And with his fantastic voyage, which he puts down on the field, you get 70% of Bennett's attack value as extra attack damage. And now Bennett's attack damage was 1,500, so you get 70% of that. You're getting like 1,000 damage of extra damage. You can see the attack bonus ratio. And so D-Luke is going from, 2,700 damage to like 3,700 damage, 800 damage, let's say, right? Now, on top of this, they put out Mona on the field. Now, Mona has the Stellar Phantasm, and the Illusory Bubble locks opponents down, but more importantly, it gives them an Omen debuff. Now, the Omen debuff, during this duration, it increases the damage taken by enemies. 42%. 42% damage bonus, I believe. I'm not exactly sure, but let's just say, even if it wasn't 42%, Omen is increasing how much damage is being dealt on the enemy. Alright, now this one's a little tricky. Bennett uses an area of effect fire attack. Then, Sucrose uses her Swirl, which will then boost the Elemental Mastery by 50 for any party member with a magic element. So she uses Bennett's fire, swirls it, to then give D-Luke 50 Elemental Mastery. And it's quite a bit of stats you're going to get there. So at 103 Elemental Mastery, he's doing 19% more damage with those, right? But if we look at my Fischl, who's got 175, she's getting like 30%. So let's just say he's getting about 30% more damage from his Vaporize and Melt. But we're not done there. Now, another thing is there are 2 fire characters in the map, so you're getting Fervent Flames, and you're increasing attack by 25%. This is not a full-on increase. People think that you're just like taking whatever your final attack is and then multiplying it. That's not how this works. But this does come into play with Bennett. You're giving him more attack, which then gives D-Luke more attack, and you're giving D-Luke more attack because of this attack. There's a lot of attack, okay? When doing a melt, you've got Cryo, and then someone uses Pyro and melts it, you get a 2 times damage multiplier, a 100% increase to any damage outgoing. So you take your base attack, you take your crit damage if it ends up critting, You take all of the damages and debuffs and everything, and then you say, all right, double it. And that is how you get 115,000 damage on one hit. And so we can see that all play out in this video. So there's some other passives and constellations that are coming to play. I believe this is like a 2 constellation D-Luke or something like that, because you're going to see at the very beginning here, he eats damage on purpose. And each time you eat damage, you get a 10% boost to your attack. So right now, he's going from 2,700 damage to like 3,000. Now he's at like 3,300, let's say. He's getting 3,600, let's say. And then Bennett pops that. Sucrose pops the swirl, giving them elemental mastery. We've got Mona now debuffing, and then D-Luke finishing it off with 115,000 damage. Okay? So that is the combo of the Sentry. It's amazing. It's good for doing, single target DPS for a boss. You can nuke a boss with it. And there's multiple combos here. So I want to talk about these stats. I want to talk about the importance of these stats. And I want to talk about doing a bunch of damage. Again, because everyone is caught up on Elemental Mastery saying, you gotta have Elemental Mastery. It's like the best. And it's great. But it only works if you're proccing it. So here's the thing about doing damage. Here's the thing about Elemental Mastery. Attack boosts the damage of everything you do. Your basic attacks get boosted by attack. The base damage of all of your spells gets boosted by your attack. So every character in the game needs an upgraded weapon. You gotta have an upgraded weapon, okay? Because that's gonna be boosting that damage on everything. And if you're getting all these percentages of improvement, but your damage is nothing, it's peanuts, then you're going to hit like trash. Now, this is one of the reasons why a lot of people, when they're using Fischl, they use a weapon like the Stringless. Now, the Stringless gives you Elemental Mastery, and it gives you base attack. Now, I've got some other weapons that can crack out her attack even further. It can increase normal attack damage, right? You can build her for base attack damage if you want. There's things that give you physical damage bonuses. You can make her basic attacks hit hard, but then her abilities are going to be reduced a little bit. But even in this case, when I've got base attack and the attack percentage, this is boosting my ability damage. Now, in the case of Stringless, we're getting more base attack damage, which is boosting her ability damage. And then we're getting 30% increased damage from the Stringless Refinement Rank 2. And so, between the mixture of the base attack and this, people really like using this on our girl Fischl because she can use her abilities a lot. It's proccing electricity a lot of the time. It's a great little combo. But the big one here is Elemental Mastery. Now, on my Fischl, if you look at her attributes, you look at her stats, she's got some decent attack. Right now, I'm trying some different things with artifacts. Like, her feather's not even upgraded, so she's missing a bunch of attack. But if you look at her Elemental Mastery, she's getting a 74% boost to damage when she's overloading and superconducting. And with her abilities, she can constantly proc these a lot. She can proc it like multiple times. Her bird just electrifies everything over and over and over again, right? And so you're getting multiple reactions with multiple boosts on it in one go. And so someone like this, getting some Elemental Mastery might not be a bad idea. In the case of Xiangling, this is another character where Elemental Mastery can be really strong. Because if you look here, I've got a whole bunch of it. She's getting 100% damage boost to Overloaded, Superconduct, Electrocharge, right? Vaporize and Melt, she's getting 40% more damage. But unfortunately, her base attack is trash because I haven't leveled her up. I haven't got her weapons and items going. But her bear repeatedly sprays fire, like 4 different times. And her Pyronado, this thing is spinning, constantly proccing elemental reactions. And so someone like this, someone like this, if you're giving them Elemental Mastery, as long as their attack damage is high, they're going to truck stuff. And they're going to truck it over and over again, right? And, it's important to have some Elemental Mastery because this is just another multiplier on your damage. But attack is the main thing first because it's the guaranteed thing. If there's no element on the enemy already and you attack it, you want those base damages and basic attacks to hit really hard. And if you are proccing an elemental reaction, that's great. You're going to get a big, juicy, delicious boost. And if you can proc it more times, that's awesome. But if you're sleeping on attack and you're thinking Elemental Mastery is going to be the end-all be-all, what is, a 100% boost to 5 damage? You're going to 10 damage. What's a 20% boost to 100 damage? That's 120. Right? You're gonna get a bigger boost even at a lower percentage if your base damage is higher. So you got to do both, and you can't go overkill on one or the other, because then it's just, you're not multiplying them on top of each other very nicely, right? And so there is a lot that goes into damage. I understand it's confusing, but here is my recommendation. On someone like a Chi-Chi, I don't have a lot of Elemental Mastery. I'm going to start building more attack on her. I don't have great artifacts, but I typically don't use Chi-Chi to attack that much, and I don't use her to do the Superconduct. I don't use her to do a Melt or an Overload or anything like that. With Chi-Chi, I pop this thing, and it freezes people, and then I swap to someone else. So if I'm going to have Elemental Mastery, I would want it on Fischl, who's going to be using her bird and proccing electricity. With this, I'm going to use Diluc, who's going to melt them, or I'm going to use Kaching, who's going to go and superconduct everything, right? If you're going to get Elemental Mastery, it has to be on the characters that are proccing it. Now, unfortunately, my stats haven't rolled great here, but I've got a bunch of crit, I've got a lot of damage, she auto-attacks, it's not a big deal. But on Fischl, if I'm not getting any Elemental Mastery, well, that's not a good thing. On Diluc, I've got a little bit as well. He's got some decent attack, but you gotta get a little bit of both. And that's what I'm gonna say. If you're gonna be doing the elemental reaction, if you're going to be exploding them and overloading them or superconducting them, that's who gets it. That's the reason why Xiangling has it, because when she uses her ultimate, it's just constant. If you're fighting slimes, overload, 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 overload. That's the majority of her damage. Her bear is doing it as well, overloading, right? Melting. She's constantly doing these hits. I just got to get her base attack up, and she's going to be nutty, right? Does that make sense? Is that good? Are we good here? Okay, I think we've got it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and I will see you soon, my friends. Bye-bye.